My coworker tried to frame me as sleeping with my gay boss, so I got her fired and sentenced. 2 years later, she's back, trying to destroy my career with deepfakes. But I'm ready for war. I work as a power plant turbine engineer in New York City. For 2 years straight, it was just me and 7 other dudes on the team, until Ashley joined. She talked in a high-pitched voice and wore a very obvious push-up bra, so I was scared of her being a pick-me. But she ended up being super nice. So much so that I invited her to our weekly team bonding session. So there we were, all 9 of us, sitting in a dumpling house when she pointed out a girl that walked in. Hey, she seems like she would be your type. You guys would look so cute together. I stared at her blankly, and that's when Joshua, my team leader, chimed in. OMG Amanda, my name. I told you dressing emo made you look a little fruity. I laughed awkwardly and told Ashley that I was, in fact, a heterosexual woman. At first she laughed along with me and even exclaimed that we could go hunting for husbands together. But from there, whenever I spoke to her in the group, she'd act like she didn't hear me. And whenever me and Joshua tried to talk to each other, she would cut me off and try to overpower the conversation. Usually at work she trusted everything that I told her and seemed to have a lot of respect for me. But throughout the entire week she kept making passive-aggressive comments about how some of us had to earn our spots through actual qualifications. And on all the days that Joshua was meant to be in the office, she would wear pencil skirts that were too see-through to be by accident. Up until this point, I thought she had a crush on Joshua and was just trying to get his attention. But I was sitting in the bathroom stall procrastinating work and playing Candy Crush when I heard it. Ashley stormed in, screaming her head off on a phone call. Sure, Amanda's nice and all, but I'm just sick of everyone pretending that it's normal that she got promoted in 6 months, as if she actually has any skill. And suddenly, everything made sense, because that's when she said, as if that assault has ever done any work outside of Joshua's bedroom. You effing idiot, Joshua is gay! I wanted to yell, but instead, I stayed silent. I figured it was more fun that way. You see, there was a role I had before becoming a power plant turbine engineer, one that I had retired from, and that was being a petty bitch. So now it was time to bring it back. I started off by leaning into it. Every time I left Joshua's office, I'd adjust my lipstick like it had gotten smeared for a reason. During meetings, I would lock eyes with Joshua and let him be the first one to break it, and Amanda bit back. She started running into us during our daily hot dog runs and tried to impress him by shoving as much of the hot dog into her mouth as possible. Actually, so cringe. And if there was one thing Joshua was a sucker for, it was a massage. And under normal circumstances, I would never give a man a massage. But Joshua was more like my best friend than my boss. Well, that, and he was a whole fruitcake. So on Sunday night, I texted him asking if he wanted to come to work early, and I'd give him one. And when he said yes, I texted into the group chat saying, can't wait to see you early on Monday morning, just the 2 of us, smiley face emoji. And right after, I sent a text saying, that was meant for Joshua. And of course, Ashley viewed the message straight away. So there we were in his office on Monday morning, with my hands on his shoulders and him groaning out loud, when Ashley barged in with her phone out and the camera flash on. Aha! You effing a word, I knew you had Joshua inside of you. Joshua slowly turned around, looking genuinely confused. Ashley, what in the world? Did you just call Amanda a— He was then interrupted by the sound of me bursting out laughing. I slowly walked over to the corner and picked up a photo frame of Joshua and his husband kissing. Ashley's face went completely red. Get the F out of my office, Joshua said, his voice flat and assertive. Ashley was fired after that. Turns out calling your colleague a slur while illegally recording them is frowned upon, even if you think you're exposing an affair. After that, everything finally went back to normal, until a month later, that is. Because when I walked into the office, Joshua pulled me aside and asked me what the F I was doing. Turns out someone had made me a Lonely Fans page, and all the photos were deepfake AI images of me completely unclothed. I instantly knew Ashley was the one behind it. Who else would be that vindictive and tech-savvy enough to pull it off? The page already had like 500 followers somehow. Joshua showed me on his phone and I felt sick to my stomach, my coffee suddenly tasting like acid. The bio said I was a turbine engineer by day and something else entirely by night. There were fake testimonials from supposed clients rating my services with graphic details that made me want to throw up. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands and started reporting the page immediately. Joshua said he'd already reported it 3 times that morning after getting an anonymous tip. The IT department was looking into it too, but they were more used to dealing with spam emails than revenge porn. But new pages kept popping up faster than we could report them, like some horrible game of whack-a-mole. By lunch, there were 4 different accounts, all with variations of my name. Each one had the same deepfake photos but different bios. One claimed I was married but looking for fun on the side. Another said I was desperate for money and would do anything for the right price. The creativity was almost impressive if it wasn't so violating. I spent my entire lunch break on the phone with Instagram support. They kept transferring me to different departments, each representative less helpful than the last. Nobody seemed to understand the urgency. Meanwhile, my LinkedIn started blowing up with connection requests from random men. Their messages were disgusting, describing in detail what they wanted to do to me. I realized Ashley must have linked the fake pages to my real professional profiles somehow, creating a spider web of humiliation. That afternoon, I noticed my car had a flat tire in the parking garage. The security guard, an older guy named Frank who always saved me a spot, helped me change it and mentioned it looked like someone had punctured it on purpose. There was a clean slice right through the rubber, too precise to be accidental. I asked him to check the cameras, but he said that section had a blind spot. How convenient. The next morning, I found another flat tire. Different wheel this time. Same clean cut. I was starting to feel paranoid walking to my car, checking over my shoulder constantly. Started checking under it and around it before getting in, using my phone's flashlight even in broad daylight. Joshua offered to walk me to the garage after work, and I accepted gratefully. We installed a dash cam that week. I parked in different spots each day, varying my routine to be less predictable. But Ashley must have been watching closely. She waited until I'd parked in a spot near the stairwell, probably thinking it was safer because of the foot traffic. 2 days after installation, the dash cam mysteriously stopped working. When I checked it, the memory card wasn't just corrupted, it was physically damaged. Someone had inserted it backwards and forced it, destroying both the card and the slot. The security footage showed a figure in a hoodie near my car, but the angle made identification impossible. Ashley was getting bolder. The fake pages started tagging my company's official account in posts. Our HR department finally got involved when clients started asking questions about their interesting discovery about one of our engineers. They hired some cybersecurity consultant to trace the accounts, but Ashley was using VPNs and fake email addresses, bouncing her IP address around like a ping pong ball. Every time they'd track one down and get it removed, 3 more would pop up within hours. She was like a demented digital hydra. I had to explain the situation to my parents when they started getting friend requests from the fake accounts. My mom was mortified, calling me in tears. My dad wanted to hire a lawyer, but I told him to wait. I had a feeling Ashley would slip up eventually. She was too proud and too obsessed with being the smartest person in the room. That ego would be her downfall. People like her always thought they were untouchable, right up until they weren't. The fake accounts kept multiplying like digital cockroaches. Every morning, I'd wake up to find new profiles with increasingly creative usernames. Some pretended to be me offering engineering consultations with happy endings. Others claimed I was looking for sugar daddies to fund my turbine research. The creativity would have been impressive if it wasn't destroying my life piece by piece. I started documenting everything in a spreadsheet. Screenshots, timestamps, usernames, IP addresses when I could grab them. My cousin Walter worked in cybersecurity for a bank downtown and offered to help during his lunch breaks. He showed me how to use reverse image searches and metadata tools. Most of the photos were pulled from my social media, then run through AI programs to create the explicit versions. The technology was terrifying in its efficiency. 3 weeks into this nightmare, things escalated. I was at the gym on Saturday morning trying to burn off stress on the treadmill when this huge dude approached me. He looked angry, his face red and sweaty. He said I'd been messaging him all week, then stood him up twice. I had no idea what he was talking about until he showed me the messages. Ashley was catfishing people using my photos, setting up meetings at places I frequented. My regular gym, my favorite coffee shop, the bookstore where I bought engineering manuals. My gym buddy Sean helped defuse the situation. He was former military and had that calm authority that made people listen. He explained to the angry guy that I was being impersonated online. The guy apologized and left, but I realized how dangerous this was getting. Ashley wasn't just trying to embarrass me anymore. She was putting me in actual physical danger. I started varying my routine, going to different locations at different times. The paranoia was exhausting. Walter discovered something interesting while analyzing the fake profiles. They all used similar writing patterns and made the same grammatical mistakes. Ashley had this weird habit of using would've instead of would have, and she did it consistently across all the accounts. She also used British spelling sometimes, probably from whatever VPN she was hiding behind. We started building a digital fingerprint of her posting style. The harassment spread beyond social media. My work email got flooded with subscriptions to explicit websites. My phone number was posted on sketchy forums with promises I definitely didn't make. I had to change my number twice in 1 week. The phone company employee looked at me with such pity when I explained why I needed another new number. I felt like I was drowning in digital sewage with no way to surface for air. Joshua suggested hiring a private investigator, but I had a different idea. Ashley's biggest weakness was her ego. She thought she was smarter than everyone, especially me. During her time at the company, she'd constantly bragged about her qualifications and how she graduated summa fluid laude. She needed everyone to know she was brilliant. That arrogance would be her downfall. I created a fake engineering consultancy website over the weekend. Walter helped me make it look legitimate with a professional design and fake testimonials. We called it Apex Technical Solutions and advertised an exclusive contract for turbine optimization. The salary was ridiculous, like $300,000 plus benefits. The job requirements were specifically tailored to Ashley's resume. We even mentioned preference for candidates with experience at our specific power plant. We posted the job on niche engineering forums where Ashley was likely to lurk. The application required extensive documentation to prove qualifications. We wanted her to send us everything: her real resume, her real portfolio, examples of her work, the kind of stuff that would have her real information embedded in it. Walter set up tracking pixels on the website so we'd know exactly when she visited and from where. She took the bait within 48 hours. The application came through with her real name and information. She couldn't resist using her actual credentials because she needed us to know how qualified she was. Her cover letter was 3 pages of bragging about her achievements and throwing subtle shade at her previous employer. She mentioned how she'd been unfairly terminated due to office politics. The ego was practically dripping off the page. We scheduled a video interview for the following week. I wore a wig and glasses, used a voice modulator to sound different. Walter set up a fake background and helped me prep technical questions. Ashley showed up to the video call 20 minutes early, eager and prepared. She wore the same type of see-through blouse she used to wear when trying to impress Joshua. Old habits die hard, apparently. During the interview, I steered the conversation toward her recent projects. I asked about her experience with online platforms and digital marketing for engineering firms. She lit up, eager to show off her technical skills. Without prompting, she started bragging about this harassment campaign she'd orchestrated against a former colleague. She actually screen shared and showed us the fake accounts, demonstrated how she used AI tools to create the images, explained her VPN setup to avoid detection. She thought she was impressing potential employers with her technical prowess. She went into detail about psychological warfare tactics, how she'd studied my routines to maximize impact. She even pulled up spreadsheets where she tracked the effectiveness of different types of posts. The woman had turned stalking me into a data science project. Walter was recording everything from his end while I kept her talking. The coup de grace came when she bragged about hacking into our HR system to plant fake complaints. She showed us the backdoor she'd created while still employed, thinking we'd be impressed by her foresight. She explained how she'd used her mother's credit cards to pay for various services because they couldn't be traced back to her. She actually laughed about how her elderly mother had no idea what those charges were for. After the interview ended, Walter got to work. The real IP address came through when she screen shared. A rookie mistake for someone who thought she was so clever. She was operating from her parents' basement in New Jersey, not even bothering to leave the house for her criminal activities. We traced several of the credit card charges to her mother's accounts. The woman was committing identity theft against her own mother. I compiled everything into organized folders. The recorded confession, the IP addresses, the credit card fraud evidence, screenshots of every fake account with timestamps. Walter helped me create a timeline showing how each piece connected. We even found where she'd posted in online forums asking for advice on creating deepfakes, using her regular username from gaming platforms. The digital trail was extensive once we knew where to look, but Ashley must have sensed something was wrong when we didn't immediately offer her the fake job. The harassment intensified dramatically. She started sending the deepfake images to my family members, including my 70-year-old grandmother who barely understood email. My grandmother called me crying, convinced someone had actually taken these photos of me. It took hours to explain what deepfakes were and calm her down. My brother Adam was in his second year of law school at Columbia. He helped me file restraining orders and document everything properly for law enforcement. He explained that cyber harassment cases were tricky, but we had exceptional evidence. The recorded confession alone was damning, but combined with the credit card fraud and identity theft, Ashley was looking at serious charges. He started building a case file with proper legal documentation. The tipping point came when Ashley tried to access the power plant's HR system again. She must have panicked and wanted to delete traces of her previous access, but IT had updated security after the first breach. The system flagged her immediately and locked her out. It also captured her device information and the VPN she was using. It was the same pattern as the fake social media accounts. IT called the police directly this time. I went to the police station with Adam and our boxes of evidence. The detective assigned to the case was a middle-aged woman named Detective Chen, who specialized in cybercrimes. She was impressed by how thoroughly we'd documented everything. She said most victims don't collect nearly this much evidence. We played her the recorded confession and her eyes widened. Ashley had basically created a how-to guide for her own prosecution. Detective Chen worked with the New Jersey police to coordinate Ashley's arrest. They needed to move fast before she could destroy evidence. Walter helped them understand the technical aspects of what they should look for. We explained about the credit card fraud so they could protect Ashley's mother from further financial damage. The poor woman had no idea her daughter had stolen thousands of dollars from her. The arrest happened on a Tuesday morning. Ashley's mother called the police herself after we sent her evidence of the credit card fraud. She was horrified and furious in equal measure. She gave them permission to search Ashley's room where they found multiple devices, printed screenshots of my social media, and notebooks where she'd planned her harassment campaign. The level of obsession was disturbing. She had charts tracking my daily movements. Ashley tried to run when the police arrived. She actually climbed out her bedroom window and tried to escape through the backyard. The neighbors filmed the whole thing on their phones. She got tackled in her parents' garden, face planting into her mother's prized tomato plants. The videos went viral in our industry's online forums. Someone set it to yakety sax music. It was the kind of poetic justice you couldn't script. The police found even more evidence on her devices. She'd been harassing other women too, though not as extensively as me. There were folders labeled with different names, different campaigns of terror. I wasn't special, just her current fixation. She had templates for creating fake accounts and spreadsheets tracking harassment metrics. The woman had turned being a horrible person into a structured project with KPIs and everything. Her mother was devastated. She'd had no idea what Ashley was doing in their basement all day. She thought her daughter was job hunting and dealing with depression after being fired. Instead, Ashley had been running a one-woman harassment operation funded by stolen credit cards. The mother apologized to me repeatedly during a phone call, crying about where she went wrong. I felt bad for her. It wasn't her fault her daughter was unhinged. The legal process moved faster than expected. Ashley's lawyer tried to argue for mental health considerations, but the mountain of evidence was overwhelming. The recorded confession was particularly damning. Hard to claim diminished capacity when you're bragging about your criminal methodology in HD video. The credit card fraud added federal charges to the mix. Ashley was looking at serious time, not just a slap on the wrist. My company was supportive throughout the ordeal. They implemented new cybersecurity training and updated their HR systems. Joshua personally apologized for not catching Ashley's behavior earlier. He felt guilty for hiring her in the first place. I told him it wasn't his fault. People like Ashley were good at hiding their true nature until something triggered them. In this case, her trigger was discovering I wasn't competition for male attention. The other guys on my team rallied around me. They took turns walking me to my car until we were sure Ashley was securely in custody. They reported fake accounts whenever they found them. Henry from our team even wrote a script to automatically search for and flag potential fake profiles using my photos. The solidarity was touching. These guys who'd barely noticed when I joined the team were now acting like protective brothers. The court date arrived 3 months after Ashley's arrest. She'd been out on bail but under strict conditions including no internet access. She looked different in court, smaller somehow. The confident woman who'd worn see-through skirts to work was gone. She sat hunched in an ill-fitting suit, her hair flat and unstyled. Reality had finally caught up with her, and it wasn't pretty. The prosecutor presented the evidence methodically. The deepfakes, the harassment, the credit card fraud, the attempted HR system breach. They played portions of her recorded confession, where she detailed her methods with obvious pride. Ashley's face went red as her own words condemned her. Her lawyer tried to object, but there was no defending against her own bragging. She'd literally created a tutorial for her crimes. Character witnesses testified about the impact of Ashley's actions. My grandmother spoke about receiving explicit images of her granddaughter and the emotional trauma it caused. My brother outlined the legal implications and how this could have destroyed my career. Joshua testified about Ashley's behavior at work and the false assumptions she'd made. Even Ashley's mother testified about the financial fraud and the betrayal of trust. When it was my turn to give a victim impact statement, I kept it simple. I talked about the paranoia, the constant fear, the professional damage, but I also talked about how Ashley's obsession with being the smartest person in the room led to her downfall. She was so eager to prove her brilliance that she documented her own crimes in excruciating detail. Her ego was her undoing. The judge wasn't lenient. Ashley got 2 years probation, 200 hours of community service specifically focused on educating others about cyber harassment. She had to pay full restitution for the financial damages and the cost of therapy for multiple victims. She was banned from social media for 5 years and forbidden from contacting me or anyone at my company. Her engineering license was suspended pending review by the state board. The most satisfying part was when the judge ordered her to complete a course on internet safety and digital citizenship. The woman who thought she was a tech genius had to sit through basic lessons about online ethics with teenagers caught sexting. The community service included speaking at high schools about the dangers of cyber harassment. She had to repeatedly admit what she'd done and warn others not to follow her path. After the sentencing, Ashley's mother approached me again. She thanked me for not pushing for jail time, though I'd actually left that to the prosecutor's discretion. She said Ashley was moving back to Ohio to live with relatives and start over. She promised to monitor her daughter's internet access personally. The poor woman aged years during this ordeal. I genuinely felt sorry for her. Back at work, things slowly returned to normal. The fake accounts disappeared as Ashley lost access to her tools. My social media presence recovered. Clients who'd asked uncomfortable questions were understanding once we explained the situation. A few even shared their own stories of online harassment. It was depressing how common this type of attack had become. Joshua instituted new hiring practices, including more thorough background checks and psychological evaluations. He blamed himself for missing the red flags with Ashley. We had long talks about it over our daily hot dogs. He kept apologizing until I threatened to put mustard in his coffee. The guilt wasn't his to carry. Ashley had fooled everyone with her initial nice girl act. 6 months later, I got promoted to lead engineer. It was based purely on my work performance and had nothing to do with the Ashley situation, but it felt like vindication anyway. The promotion Ashley thought I didn't deserve, that sparked her whole campaign of terror, was now officially mine. I celebrated with the team at our dumpling place. Nobody pointed out potential dates for me this time. I occasionally checked to make sure Ashley was complying with her probation. She was working retail in Ohio, living quietly with relatives. Her LinkedIn showed a gap in employment she'd have to explain forever. The engineering world was small, and word had spread about what she'd done. Her career in the field was effectively over. She'd destroyed her own future trying to destroy mine. The whole experience taught me valuable lessons about documentation and cybersecurity. I became the unofficial expert on digital harassment at my company, helping create policies to protect employees. I spoke at industry conferences about recognizing and preventing workplace harassment that extends into digital spaces. Something positive came from the nightmare Ashley put me through. Walter and I stayed close after everything. He'd spent so much time helping me that we became actual friends beyond being cousins. He taught me more about cybersecurity, and I helped him understand industrial engineering. We had weekly dinners where we didn't talk about Ashley at all. It was nice to have family support that went beyond obligation. The deepfake technology that Ashley used became more regulated after several high-profile cases. New laws made it explicitly illegal to create and distribute non-consensual explicit images, whether real or AI-generated. I testified at a state hearing about my experience, helping lawmakers understand the real-world impact of this technology. Ashley inadvertently contributed to legal reform through her crimes. My dating life, which had been non-existent during the harassment, slowly resumed. I was more careful about what I posted online and who I trusted with personal information. The paranoia faded, but the caution remained. I dated a few guys who understood why I was protective of my privacy. Most were supportive. The ones who weren't didn't last long. A year after the court case, I got a letter from Ashley. It was forwarded through her lawyer to maintain the no-contact order. She apologized for everything, claiming she'd gotten therapy and understood how wrong she'd been. She said she'd let jealousy and assumptions cloud her judgment. The letter felt performative, probably written to show compliance with probation. I threw it away without responding. Life moved forward. The turbines kept spinning, the power kept flowing, and I kept engineering solutions to technical problems. My team remained supportive. Though we never hired anyone to replace Ashley, 8 people felt like the right number. We still got dumplings every Friday, still made terrible engineering puns, still complained about budget constraints. Normal felt amazing after everything. Sometimes I thought about how different things could have been if Ashley had just asked me directly about Joshua instead of assuming an affair, or if she'd channeled her competitive energy into actual work instead of elaborate harassment schemes. But people like Ashley didn't take the simple path. They created complex webs of assumption and retaliation that ultimately trapped themselves. The fake profile profiles were gone, but screenshots lived forever on the internet. Occasionally, someone would recognize me from the case and want to hear the story. I kept it brief, focusing on the importance of documentation and having support systems. I didn't want to be defined by what Ashley did to me. I was an engineer who happened to survive a cyberstalker, not a victim who happened to be an engineer. Joshua never fully forgave himself for the situation. He implemented so many new policies that hiring became a 3-month process. I had to talk him down from requiring polygraph tests for new employees. His husband, Marcus, thanked me for being understanding about the whole mess. They invited me to dinner regularly, where we didn't talk about work or Ashley at all, just normal friend stuff. The experience bonded our team in unexpected ways. We looked out for each other more, both online and off. Henry's script for finding fake profiles evolved into a legitimate app that helped people identify if their photos were being misused online. He donated the proceeds to organizations fighting cyber harassment. Even from something horrible, innovation could bloom. 2 years after Ashley's sentencing, I barely thought about her anymore. She was a cautionary tale I'd share with new employees about the importance of professional behavior and the dangers of assumptions. Her legacy at our company was a robust anti-harassment policy and better cybersecurity. Not what she'd intended, but probably what the universe demanded. I kept the documentation though, encrypted and backed up in multiple locations. Not from paranoia, but from hard-learned wisdom. Evidence was protection. Truth was defense. And sometimes the best revenge was simply continuing to succeed while your harasser stocked shelves in Ohio, banned from the career she'd thought made her superior. I didn't need to be petty anymore. Reality was petty enough on its own. The turbines kept spinning, converting mechanical energy into electrical power. I kept engineering, solving problems, and optimizing systems. Life went on, fuller and more cautious, but not diminished. Ashley had tried to destroy me with pixels and lies. Instead, she'd only destroyed herself, and I had the receipts to prove it. The documentation sat in my encrypted folders like a digital insurance policy. I thought I'd never need it again. Ashley was gone, working retail in Ohio, banned from social media and engineering forever. Case closed, right? Wrong. About 3 months after I'd stopped thinking about her daily, weird stuff started happening again. Not the same as before, but subtle things. My LinkedIn started getting views from recruiters at companies I'd never heard of. They'd view my profile multiple times but never reach out. Then I started getting emails about job opportunities that seemed too good to be true. Senior positions at startups offering ridiculous salaries and equity packages. At first I ignored them. I was happy at my job and these emails screamed scam. But they kept coming, getting more specific about my qualifications. They mentioned projects I'd worked on that weren't public knowledge. Someone had done their homework. The emails came from different addresses but had similar writing patterns. That familiar misuse of would've instead of would have made my stomach drop. I called Walter immediately. He ran traces on the emails and found they were bouncing through the same VPN services Ashley used to favor, but she wasn't supposed to have internet access. We dug deeper and discovered the emails were being sent during business hours from IP addresses in Ohio. Walter cross-referenced the locations with public Wi-Fi spots. They matched coffee shops and libraries near where Ashley's relatives lived. She was violating her probation. The idiot was using public Wi-Fi to harass me again, thinking she was being clever, but she'd made a crucial mistake. One of the fake companies she'd created had a website registered to her aunt's address, the same aunt she was supposedly living with. When we checked the registration details, we found a phone number that traced back to a burner phone purchased at a store 2 blocks from that address. I contacted Detective Chen with the new evidence. She was frustrated but not surprised. She said people like Ashley often couldn't help themselves. They'd behave for a while, then convince themselves they were smarter than the system. Chen coordinated with Ashley's probation officer in Ohio. They started surveillance without alerting Ashley. They wanted to catch her in the act. The emails escalated. The fake recruiters started getting pushier, asking for code samples and technical documentation from my current projects. They wanted proprietary information about our power plant systems. This wasn't just harassment anymore. This was attempted corporate espionage. Ashley had graduated from trying to ruin my reputation to trying to steal trade secrets. Walter helped me set up a honeypot. We created fake technical documents with tracking codes embedded in them. If anyone opened them, we'd know exactly where and when. We responded to one of the recruiter emails with the fake files, playing along like I was interested in the opportunity. The documents were opened within hours from a library computer in Ashley's town, but Ashley had learned from her mistakes. She was using better operational security this time. The library computers were wiped clean after each session. She was rotating between different locations. She never used the same email address twice. If we hadn't recognized her writing patterns and obsessive focus on me, we might not have connected it to her at all. Detective Chen decided to get creative. She worked with Ashley's probation officer to stage a surprise home inspection. While the probation officer kept Ashley and her aunt busy, Chen's tech specialist checked the house's internet history. They found evidence that someone had been researching VPN services and job sites related to power plant engineering. Ashley's aunt swore she barely used the internet except for Facebook. The breakthrough came when they found a notebook hidden in Ashley's closet. She'd been keeping physical notes this time, trying to avoid digital traces, but she couldn't help documenting everything. There were pages of information about me, my current projects, my colleagues. She'd been stalking my company's public announcements and piecing together our technical work. She had plans to sell the information to competitors. They arrested Ashley that afternoon. She tried to claim the notebook was fiction writing for a novel she was working on. Nobody bought it. The handwriting analysis matched. The technical details were too accurate to be fiction. And when they seized her burner phone, they found the email accounts she'd been using. She'd cleared the messages, but not the account logins. Rookie mistake for someone who thought she was a mastermind. This time the charges were more serious. Violating violating probation, attempted corporate espionage, continued harassment. The federal authorities got involved because of the interstate nature and the trade secrets angle. Ashley was looking at actual prison time now. Her aunt kicked her out immediately, furious about being lied to and potentially implicated. Ashley's support system crumbled overnight. I had to testify again. This time I wasn't nervous. I was just tired. Tired of dealing with Ashley's obsession. Tired of looking over my shoulder. Tired of checking every email for signs of her writing style. The prosecutor presented the new evidence methodically. The notebook was particularly damning. Ashley had written detailed plans about destroying my career and profiting from it. Ashley's new lawyer tried a different approach. He argued she was suffering from mental illness and needed treatment, not incarceration. But the calculated nature of her actions undermined that defense. This wasn't impulsive behavior. This was planned, documented, and executed with careful consideration of avoiding detection. The journal showed months of planning and reconnaissance. Her mother testified again, looking even more broken than before. She'd mortgaged her house to pay for Ashley's legal defense the first time. Now she was done. She told the court she couldn't enable her daughter anymore. She loved Ashley but recognized she was dangerous and manipulative. It was heartbreaking to watch a mother give up on her child, even when that child was a 30-year-old woman. The judge wasn't sympathetic this time. Ashley had been given a second chance and thrown it away. She got 3 years in minimum security federal prison, followed by 5 years of supervised probation with no internet access whatsoever. She had to pay restitution again and was permanently barred from any job involving access to proprietary information. Her engineering career wasn't just over. Any technical career was now impossible. Ashley broke down when the sentence was read. She screamed that I'd ruined her life, that everything was my fault. The bailiffs had to drag her out while she ranted about how unfair it was. The courtroom was silent except for her shrieks echoing down the hallway. Even her lawyer looked relieved when she was gone. Some clients were just impossible to defend. After the trial, I thought about moving to a different city, starting fresh where nobody knew about the crazy stalker situation, but I loved my job and my team. I wasn't going to let Ashley drive me away from the life I'd built. Plus, Joshua would be lost without me double-checking his calculations. The man was brilliant, but sometimes forgot to carry the one. My company implemented even stricter security measures. All employees had to undergo social media training. We learned about operational security and protecting proprietary information. IT started monitoring for suspicious access patterns. What started as Ashley's vendetta against me became a complete overhaul of our corporate security. Silver lining, I guess. I started dating a guy named Marcus who worked in finance. Not Joshua's Marcus. Different guy entirely. This Marcus understood why I was cautious about social media and privacy. He'd had his own experience with a stalker ex-girlfriend. We bonded over our shared paranoia about online safety. It wasn't the most romantic foundation for a relationship, but it was honest. Walter and I developed our honeypot technique into a legitimate security service. Companies hired us to test their employees' vulnerability to social engineering attacks. We'd create fake recruiters and see who would share proprietary information. It was depressing how often people fell for it. Ashley had inadvertently launched our side business. We donated part of the profits to cyberstalking victims support groups. Prison communication is monitored, so Ashley couldn't contact me directly, but I heard through the legal grapevine that she was not adjusting well. She kept insisting she was smarter than everyone else, which didn't make her popular with other inmates. She tried to start a computer class, but wasn't allowed near technology. She ended up working in the prison laundry, a far cry from engineering. My grandmother fully recovered from the trauma of seeing those deepfake images. She became oddly tech-savvy in the process, learning about internet safety to protect herself. She started teaching digital literacy at her senior center. She'd tell anyone who'd listen about how her granddaughter survived a cyberstalker. I was simultaneously proud and mortified when she'd corner my dates to share the story. The deepfake detection technology improved dramatically. Apps could now identify AI-generated images with high accuracy. I became a beta tester for several of these apps, providing feedback based on my experience. It felt good to help prevent others from going through what I did. Technology had been weaponized against me, but it could also be a shield. 2 years into Ashley's sentence, I got a letter from her mother. She was selling the house and moving to Florida to start over. She apologized again for everything Ashley had put me through. She included a check for the damages Ashley had caused that insurance wouldn't cover. I tried to refuse it, but she insisted. She said it was the least she could do. I donated it to a women's shelter. My career thrived despite, or maybe because of everything. I published papers on turbine efficiency that got industry recognition. I spoke at conferences about both engineering and cybersecurity. Other women in STEM reached out to share their own harassment stories. We formed an informal support network. Ashley had tried to isolate me, but ended up connecting me to a community. The power plant implemented my new safety protocols across all their facilities. I got a bonus and another promotion. Lead engineer became senior lead engineer. Joshua joked that I'd be running the place within 5 years. He wasn't entirely wrong. I'd learned to navigate corporate politics while dealing with Ashley. Office drama seemed simple compared to cyber warfare. Marcus and I got engaged on a normal Tuesday. No grand gestures or public proposals. Just a quiet moment in our apartment with Chinese takeout and a ring he'd hidden in a fortune cookie. The fortune said, "Your future is secure with good documentation." He'd had it custom printed. I ugly cried into my lo mein. It was perfect for us. We had a small wedding with serious security, not because we expected Ashley to show up from prison, but because we'd both become cautious people. We hired off-duty cops and had a strict no-phones policy during the ceremony. Our wedding photos stayed offline. We controlled our narrative now. The only drama was my grandmother trying to set up every single person with someone. Life settled into a new normal. Work, home, occasional paranoia when weird emails arrived, but mostly just regular life. I helped train new engineers, making sure they understood understood both technical skills and professional behavior. I'd tell them about Ashley as a cautionary tale, how assumptions and jealousy could destroy a promising career. Most thought I was exaggerating until I showed them the court documents. Ashley got out on good behavior after serving 2.5 years. She had to wear an ankle monitor and couldn't leave Ohio without permission. She wasn't allowed to work in any technical field or access the internet without supervision. Last I heard, she was stocking shelves at a grocery store and living in a halfway house. Her mother had cut off contact completely. I thought about reaching out once, not to forgive or reconcile, but to understand. What made her fixate on me so intensely? Why couldn't she let go even when faced with serious consequences? But my therapist talked me out of it. Some questions didn't need answers. Some people were just broken in ways that had nothing to do with their victims. The Reddit post about the whole saga went viral in engineering forums. People analyzed it like a case study in workplace harassment. Some didn't believe it was real. The escalation seemed too dramatic, the evidence too convenient. But anyone who dealt with a truly obsessive stalker recognized the patterns. The meticulous documentation, the escalating behavior, the inability to stop even when caught. 5 years after that first dumpling dinner where Ashley assumed I was sleeping with Joshua, I barely thought about her. She was a chapter in my life that was firmly closed. I had my career, my husband, my team of engineers who'd become family. We still got dumplings every Friday. Joshua still made terrible puns. Life was good in its ordinary way. Sometimes new employees would find the old Reddit post and ask if it was about me. I'd confirm it was and answer their questions matter-of-factly. Yes, it really happened. Yes, she really went to prison. No, I don't know what she's doing now and I don't care. The story had become just that, a story. Something that happened to me once but didn't define me. The power plant hummed along, converting mechanical energy to electrical power day after day. I solved problems, optimized systems, trained new engineers. My life wasn't exciting or dramatic anymore. It was wonderfully, blissfully normal. And after everything with Ashley, normal was exactly what I wanted. She'd tried to destroy my life with chaos and lies. I'd won by simply continuing to exist, succeed, and thrive. The deepfakes were gone. The fake profiles deleted. The harassment ended. But the lessons remained. Document everything. Trust, but verify. And never underestimate how far someone will go when they've convinced themselves you're the enemy. Ashley taught me all that without meaning to. In trying to ruin me, she'd only made me stronger and more prepared for whatever came next.